So I think that people who put up with shit are typically full of shit. Why I say that? In life, we have choices. You are your own boss. You decide what you want to tolerate and what you don't want to tolerate. Yes, a lot of us, maybe even all of us, have dealt with trauma in our life. So, trauma kind of has a way of making us normalize certain abusive things. If your dad or your parents always put their hands on you in an abusive way, and they told you I only do this because I'm only hitting you because I love you, and then you later on in life you get with a boyfriend who beats you up, and he says I'm only hitting you because I love you. I understand how trauma works. You just might think that somebody putting their hands on you is a sign that they love you. That being said, you still have a choice. If you know every time someone puts their hands on you, you don't like it, you can tell them to stop. Will they listen? That's up to them. If they don't, you can call the police. Then you say, oh, but I don't want to send them to jail and I don't want nothing to happen to them. You can't save somebody else who don't want to be saved. So here's how I come to this conclusion that people who put up with shit are typically full of shit. When you put up with something, there's things that naturally happen by default in your brain, in your heart. You build resentment. If I abuse you, put my hands on you, lie to you, cheat on you, say and do things that you don't like, what naturally happens is resentment builds up in your heart. And as a natural occurrence, again, resentment turns into unresolved issues, hatred, pretty much the reason why you would eventually blow. You eventually blow up on somebody. Maybe you want to see them hurt the way they hurt you. You might want revenge. And so these things are building up inside of you, and you're saying, you're just dealing with your stain, right? And you got your excuses together. You say, I've been through some trauma. But what ends up happening when somebody sits there and puts up with shit is that there's a couple of things going on. And this is my personal opinion on the subject. So if you don't agree, that's fine by me. One is either that you don't feel worthy of better treatment than what you're receiving. That's why you're tolerating it. Two, you'd do the same thing if the tables were turned. That's key. That's the second reason why you tolerate it. Or three, you don't know no better. No one's told you that this is the difference between right and wrong. This shouldn't be happening. No one should be putting their hands on you. No one should be cheating on you. You never learned that. I don't believe that part, but I'm pretty sure there's probably 0.5% of the population that don't know the difference between right and wrong, but I'm not the scientist. So I was recently speaking to somebody, just to give you like a example of what I'm talking about. She said that her ex-boyfriend left her for another woman, got her pregnant, but she was pregnant while they were together. He ended up leaving with the woman he got pregnant. She said this has been going on for like 6 months. They've been together for like 6 years. And I was like, you knew he was cheating on you and you stayed? Her excuse was, oh, this was the first time anything like that has ever happened in our relationship, so I was willing to give him another chance. But it doesn't sound like he wanted another chance if he ended up leaving you. But of course, I do know how trauma works again. He could have been saying like, oh, babe, I'm so sorry. It was an accident. I didn't mean to. I was drunk. He could have told you that. He could have been on your phone begging you for forgiveness, and then you take him back. And then you realize that that behavior doesn't change. That's how it was able to happen repeatedly for 6 months and you stayed. And I asked, I said, why did you stay if you knew that this was a behavior that he was not stopping and you was letting him know you didn't like it and he kept doing it? And that was her excuse, was that this was the first time that something like that ever happened. But I'm like, yo, it kept happening. So the first time was when you first found out about it, even though the first time when you find out about something doesn't mean that that's the first time it's happened. It's just the first time you found out about it. But you found out about it and then it kept happening. So the first time would have been that first time you found out about it and you let it happen repeatedly for 6 months. So what you just said don't make any sense. The truth comes out that while he was cheating on her, she had about 3 or 4 one-night stands with 3 or 4 different men. So you do the same shit he does. Now, here goes the thing. Somebody's going to say, well, he was cheating on her. He left her and she was doing that. So technically she wasn't cheating. She also, out her own mouth, tells me that he doesn't know anything about the men that she slept with, but she was calling him and intentionally trying to make him feel bad about how he treated her. Her knowing that she's already in the field getting her swerve on, he has no idea, but she wants him to feel bad about how he's treating her. So that's back to my point. You ain't shit. Damn, man, you sound so judgmental. Let me break it down to you like this, man. When you go through life and you don't do anything to hurt somebody, when your intentions are pure, when you are trustworthy, you haven't lied to anybody, you haven't put your hands on anybody, you haven't stolen from anybody, you haven't cheated on anybody, when that's the way you operate and the way you live currently, you'd be damned if somebody treated you like shit. You'd cut their ass off so quick. You'd leave so quick. You'd be like, regardless of what you've been through. See, the reason why I say you're still full of shit is because you haven't gotten to that stage where you don't tolerate people mistreating you. And the reason why you haven't gotten to that point of not tolerating people mistreating you is because you, again, either don't feel worthy of better treatment, or you know you do the same thing, or as if you don't have any knowledge, you're naive to the fact that there's a difference between right and wrong. And that last one, I don't believe that. So I feel like you are a vengeful person. You take on all the resentment from being mistreated. You seek revenge. And you don't let that other person know. But you still want them to feel guilty for what they did to you, even though you are guilty of doing the same thing. You found a loophole. You said, well, he did it first. Or, well, he doesn't know I did it. I caught him. Or, well, he left me first and I do it. If he left you, here goes the full of shit part. He cheated on you and then he left you. And you're the one trying to get back with him. Something doesn't sound right. Trustworthy people trust people. Non-trustworthy people don't trust people. If you know you got ill intentions, you tolerate people with ill intentions. If you have good intentions, you don't want to deal with somebody who has ill intentions. You want to steer away from them people. You avoid them. You cut them off. You say, oh, no. Otherwise, you're giving all your time and energy to somebody who isn't doing the same for you. So you can feel free to disagree with me, but that's going to always be a slogan I live by. People who put up with shit are typically full of shit.